Come quickly! He's calling for his mom!
My 8-year-old son, Ian, fell from the third floor of our apartment building. My husband called to inform me that Ian is seriously injured and has been urgently transported to the hospital. His consciousness is hazy. I'm not going. I blurted out that response without thinking. But you see, that child. I swallowed the words I almost uttered and fell silent. In return, my husband spat out.
What a cold-hearted woman you are!
There was a deep reason behind my reaction. My name is Ruth, and I'm 35 years old. After graduating from university, I worked as a full-time employee at a publishing company. However, after getting married, I switched to part-time work. Our family consists of my 5-year-older husband, Noah, our 8-year-old son, Ian, and me. Noah is always busy with work, leaving all household chores and childcare responsibilities to me. Despite this, his income is meager, and the allowance he provides is minimal. I manage to make ends meet with my part-time earnings. The most stressful aspect of my life is dealing with Ian during his rebellious phase. He responds curtly when I talk to him, and his attitude worsens day by day. I find it challenging to handle him. One day, Ian came back from school and started washing his hands, throwing his school bag on the floor. He usually put his stuff in his room right away, so I wondered what was wrong and peeked into the bathroom.
What are you looking at?
Why are you talking like that?
It's obvious that I hate you.
I sighed and tried to tidy up his school bag, but he yelled at me not to touch it. As I was startled by his force, Ian stood in front of me and glared at me.
You make it dirty when you touch it.
That's too much. Apologize.
Shut up. You old hag.
I thought this was not good and told him to watch his mouth. But he didn't seem to have any intention of changing his attitude, and he snorted and turned his back on me. That's when I saw blood seeping from his hand. Hey, you're injured. Wait here while I disinfect it. Ian snatched the first aid kit I brought and said it was none of my business, and he disinfected not only his hand but also his scraped knee by himself. What a pain. I thought everyone had this kind of phase and tried to cheer up, and I put the pancakes I made for a snack on the table. He always ate them even when he was angry, because they were his favorite, but he was in such a bad mood that day that he threw them in the trash without touching them. Hey! Don't waste food like that.
Then you pick it up from the trash and eat it.
He said coldly and took his school bag and locked himself in his room. I thought it would only make him more stubborn if I provoked him more, and I felt empty as I looked at the snack that was thrown away miserably. When Noah came home at night, I talked to him about it, but he only said,
I left the childcare to you.
And didn't listen to me. I was still worried about this relationship, so I asked him to talk to Ian when he had time. But Noah said,
I'm tired. Give me a break.
And went straight to the bedroom and fell asleep. Ian's rebellious attitude towards me didn't change, and I spent my days in agony. A few days later, while Ian was at school, I was cleaning his room and I saw a diary on his desk. I wondered if it would be an invasion of privacy to read it, even though he was my son. But I was curious to know why he always acted so rudely to me, so I picked up the diary. That's when Noah called me.
It's terrible. Ian fell from the third floor of the apartment.
What? I was shocked and didn't understand what he meant. Which apartment? I asked, and Noah hesitated and said,
That is.
I had a feeling I knew where he was talking about. Is Ian okay?
He's in the operating room right now. What should I do?
Noah was panicking and I asked him where he was. He said he was at the emergency center in the next town. He said he got a call from the police while he was at work and found out that Ian had been rushed to the hospital.
Please come right away. He's calling for his mom.
There's no way I'm going, I blurted out without thinking. Because that child is. I was about to say something, but I kept quiet, and Noah spat out at me.
What a cold-hearted woman you are.
I apologized and asked him again about Ian's condition. He said Ian was seriously injured and barely conscious. Oh no! What should I do? I was flustered, but I got in the car and hurried to the hospital where Ian was taken. When I arrived, Noah was sitting weakly in the waiting room, looking down. Ian had broken his arm and leg and was undergoing emergency surgery. The police told me that Ian had fallen on a flower bed, which cushioned his fall, and that he had barely survived. The doctor told me to prepare for the worst, and I couldn't stop crying. An hour later, as I was waiting in front of the operating room, Ian came out on a stretcher. I ran up to him and called out to him, but he only muttered weakly,
Mom? Mom.
He was moved to the intensive care unit and the doctor told me.
He's in a state of confusion, so we can't say anything yet. We'll do our best.
After the nurse explained the admission procedure to me, Noah urged me to go home and get the health insurance card and other things. When I got home, I remembered Ian's diary and looked inside. There I found out why he hated me and the reason behind it. So that's what it was. That's why he was so cold to me. But I couldn't judge everything by Ian's diary alone. Noah said he would contact me if anything happened, so I went to his room and looked for something. I found his old cell phone that he used to use. After charging it, I looked at the phone and exclaimed, "What?" Then I contacted someone right away and found out Noah's secret. I'll grill Noah to the end. With a burning spirit, I went back to the hospital where Ian was. Noah was in the waiting room, doing some calculations on a calculator. Sorry to keep you waiting. How's Ian?
He's still not awake. Wait a minute. Why is Karen with you?
I contacted her and picked her up. Yes, Karen was Ian's real mother. Ian was calling his mom, Karen. Ian was Noah's child by a former marriage, and we had remarried just a year ago. I briefly explained the situation to the nurse and she took care of it. She took me and Karen to Ian. Noah looked anxious and followed us. When we saw Ian, Karen ran up to him. She held his hand tightly and cried,
Mommy's here. Wake up. I wish I could take your place. You didn't know I wasn't living in that apartment, right?
The truth is, the apartment where Ian fell was the place where he used to live with Noah and Karen when they were married. I knew that right away from the way Noah hesitated when I asked him which apartment it was. According to the police who explained the situation at the hospital, Ian had tried to climb from the first floor to the third floor along the balcony. He had gone to visit Karen, but the front door was not open, so he resorted to such an action. I thought he wanted to see his real mother so badly, and tears ran down my cheeks again. But Noah grabbed Karen's shoulder and glared at her with a sharp look.
How dare you come here after cheating on me?
That was a misunderstanding. I told you.
In the end, your flirty behavior was proven and I got custody of Ian. Just admit it.
I had been listening quietly for a while, but I felt a surge of heat in my body and shook off Noah's hand that was holding Karen's shoulder. Then I grabbed Noah's hand and left Karen alone in the intensive care unit. You told me that the reason for the divorce was Karen's affair, didn't you? But you told Ian a different reason, right? As if to tell me to shut up, Noah raised his eyebrows and tried to silence me. I thought he wouldn't tell me the truth like this, so I showed him Ian's diary. It said that I had an affair with Noah and stole him from Karen. And it even said that he had heard it directly from Noah when he asked him the reason for the divorce. Ian must have been angrier at me, who he was told was the mistress, than at his own father. I finally understood why Ian hated me so much. It was your fault. We met after you divorced, right?
I couldn't tell him that Karen was cheating on me. It would only hurt him.
Oh, there were emails left on your old phone. You asked your friend to seduce Karen, didn't you? And I know that your friend turned you down in the end. At that time, Noah was having an affair with another woman and he even borrowed money to buy her expensive gifts. But he was dumped by the woman and only the debt remained. So Noah divorced his previous wife by making it look like she was cheating and received alimony. This fact was true because he asked his friend by email, so there is no mistake. I also told him that I found Karen's contact information from this phone. And if you can make an excuse, try it, I said, thrusting my cell phone in front of his nose. He clearly turned pale and his eyes darted around. And you made up Karen's affair, right? The photo you saved on your phone. This is a completely fake photo.
What are you talking about? Are you trying to frame me?
I was a photographer for a publishing company, so I can tell right away. You just pasted the face, so the position of the neck is slightly off. Look, here. As I pointed out that part with my finger, he started to sweat. An amateur wouldn't notice, but a professional photographer like me could tell at a glance. Noah was only told by me that I worked for a publishing company, so he probably never thought I was a photographer.
So what? What do you want?
Give Karen custody of Ian. He shook his head, refusing to listen, and said it was a joke. You just took Ian for child support, right? You still have debt, don't you? I found not only his phone but also a bill from a finance company in his room. The amount of repayment was still $30,000. You're crazy to spend so much on her.
She said she wanted branded stuff and I couldn't say no.
Oh, really? And how much did you get from Karen for Ian's child support for a month?
It's $600.
As I looked at his face, which whispered in a faint voice, I felt very sorry for him. It was wrong to separate Ian and his mother, who wanted each other, for the sake of alimony and child support. He apologized to me, trembling with anger.
Please, do me one favor in my life. Pay off the debt with me.
Rejected. How many favors do you have in your life anyway? He mumbled something, but couldn't say anything. Tell me one thing. Why did you marry me?
I raised Ian for a year, but I realized I couldn't handle parenting.
According to Noah, he was disappointed that I became a part-time worker after we got married, but he thought it was fine as long as I took care of Ian and he could pay off his debt a little bit. He was using 2/3 of his salary to repay his loan, so the living expenses he gave me were very low. And after Ian fell from the apartment, he was shaken because he thought he would lose the child support.
I realized while I was calculating earlier, if Ian didn't make it, I would get the life insurance money, right?
I was appalled by what was going on in his head at this point. I understand what you're thinking and what's going on.
I see. Then,
I'm divorcing you. And I'll make sure that Karen gets custody of Ian. If you keep this up, you might be charged with fraud for taking alimony and child support. Noah flinched at my words and looked around nervously, afraid of the police. He was at a loss for words. I told him that I had already introduced a lawyer friend to Karen, and he realized that there was no way out. He agreed to give up his parental rights.
this is bad. What am I going to do about my debt?
You made it, so you have to take responsibility for it. Bye. See you. I left Noah in a daze and went back to the intensive care unit where Ian and Karen were. I asked the nurse not to let Noah into the room because Ian didn't like him.
Ian! Ian! Please, open your eyes.
Ian slowly opened his eyes, as if he heard Karen's voice. The doctor came over and examined him, and said there was nothing to worry about.
Mom, I missed you.
Me too.
They hugged each other tightly and rejoiced at their reunion. I talked to your dad. Ian, from now on, you can live with your real mom.
Hell?
I told Ian and Karen the truth that I heard from Noah. The child was 8 years old and seemed to understand well.
Thank you. I was mistaken.
That's okay. But your mistake was climbing up the balcony of the apartment. Don't do anything dangerous again.
Yes, I promise.
As I looked at Ian's smiling face, I felt that he finally found happiness. Karen stroked his cheek with joy and her face was wet with tears of gratitude.
Thank you so much. I don't know how to thank you.
I'm sorry for saying such awful things to you. And thank you.
Ian's words touched me deeply and I burst into tears. I'll pass the baton of being a mother to Karen. Ian, you've been holding back so much, so spoil yourself with your mom. It was hard to part with Ian, who had been Ian for a year, but I thought it was best for them to be together. I gave Karen Ian's insurance card and left the room. I walked past Noah, who was still in the hallway, without looking at him and left the hospital. I officially divorced Noah and claimed $20,000 in compensation. Karen also claimed $35,000 from Noah for the adultery and child support she had paid him. To pay for that, he borrowed money from a high-interest place and ended up defaulting, so he got calls from his company and quit. Now he works and lives at a place introduced by a finance company, paying off his debt. He still has a lot of hardship ahead of him, but it's all his own fault. Later, I got a call from Karen and she said she got custody back and was living with Ian. I went back to being a full-time employee and enjoyed my work. Recently, my photos have been getting attention and I'm having a happy time.
How did you like this story? Please subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.